real spiritual process is based upon understanding of the mechanism of egoity, of embodiment, of self, of self-contraction. If you ask me how to realize happiness, you as this contraction, basically I have nothing to say to you. There isn't any way for you to become happy. You simply aren't happy. That's what you ought to recognize. That's what you ought to find out first. Understand your unhappiness. This is the first thing that must occur. If you understand your unhappiness, enjoy insight into the mechanism of self-contraction, then you'll be capable of locating happiness. And having located happiness, you'll be capable of practicing the way, which is nothing but the devotion of life to happiness.
You must see that mechanism of contraction or reactivity. Know it utterly as just like clenching your hand or getting a knot in your stomach or tightening your eyebrows. You must see it exactly as something you do in reaction or response to conditions of existence. When you can know it as such, then you can be responsible for it. And then you will not only experience this baptism, all devotees experience it, who join themselves to me at all, but you will not only experience it, you'll be able to use it, you see, because you will be responsible for the difference that turns away from it. And then you'll become a devotee, then you'll become a practitioner, you see. You'll move through these slices of time, these technicalities of the various stages, swiftly, directly, you see. The essence of this capability is self-understanding. Have I not told you this? You must become responsible for this mechanism of contraction. There's no other way to enter into it. You see, my offering to you is given continuously, but you are shutting it down. So you don't live an intoxicated life. You see, you're living an ordinary life, wondering what the hell's going on with you, waiting to die, you see. You don't feel the sublime energy of God, because you shut it down. The reason you shut it down is because you're not participating in my argument to the point of understanding this mechanism is yours. It's just like the tightening of the iris in the eyes. It's just an ordinary mechanism of reactivity in the body-mind. You must see it and be responsible for moving beyond it through submission to God, divine communion. You must be capable of surpassing this tendency of contraction.
It doesn't make any difference what you do. You are still going to discover this. And it is the discovery of that, moment to moment, always with greater intensity, and ultimately with greater and greater responsibility. It's about that discovery. That discovery is what sadhana is about. The fact of the matter, in every moment, you are possessed by this effort, this self-contracting effort, constantly creating your destiny. Constantly undermining the inherent happiness of the divine self-condition. Constantly forestalling or putting off the moment of surrender, the moment of realization, therefore. Action is where we are suffering. The core of difficulties is an action that we are performing. It is a process, not a thing. That's the feeling, right? That's the feeling associated with egoity itself, because all of its forms are forms of one thing.
But there is no truth, no liberation from the fear that is native to self-consciousness. There's no liberation whatsoever until the inner being, which is created by fear, is transcended.
So the true form of spiritual life is not one in which we are simply turning within and trying to do something for the one within, the soul, the whatever. But one in which we understand our present activity. And that present activity creates this implied inner one, as well as all the forms of his confusion, suffering, deathful life. So if this activity that is continually, moment to moment, being generated is recognized, in that moment there is no one within and no dilemma without. So that recognition is the instrument where ego and suffering are undone. When this recognition occurs, a true process is generated. And the selfless fullness of one who lives in God becomes one's condition.
You don't know by experience the pattern, the mechanism of your own psychophysical existence. You hardly experience any of it. You're in a chat room of a piece of it, gotten from your troubles so far, and that's what you diddle with all the time. You don't see beyond it, feel beyond it, get beyond it. It's not about anything beyond it. It's continuing this thing this problem. The problem of life, of course. The problem of life is a problem. Life is a problem, obviously. Right?
Everything is unhappiness except the location of that happiness. All of the pursuits are a contraction from that happiness. Therefore, you must found your existence on that happiness. You must understand the mechanism whereby you become unhappy and constantly locate this bliss. And then practice. Use of my company, personally, in the form of all the agencies that I've established here. To not surrender, to refuse surrender, is to be contracted. Things you take pleasure in, you surrender to them. What do you remain? Contracted. Indulge in them. Feel consolation, feel fascination. Distraction from unhappiness. It is supported by your own contraction or the contraction of this psychophysical paradox that is the body-mind. Without that contraction, where is there any self? So the way is not to seek happiness, but to locate it or identify with it and practice happiness. If you do so, then this happiness will magnify itself and become Bhava Samadhi. If you will not practice happiness, you will also never realize it. Either you practice happiness or you practice unhappiness. You pay me now, or you pay me later. Now, do you have some fundamental understanding of this principle?